This is Julie Keck with Tello Films. I'm here in New York in an amazing art gallery with Grace Moon. Grace Moon of Velvet Park Media, not just of, head of Velvet Park Media. What's your official title?
Well, my official title has become publisher. I've renamed myself publisher because I just got a new editorial director to run the editorial now. You know how that is when you run your own company, you like designate titles on people and then they assume responsibility. And what I've always said at Velvet Park is we put the free back into freelance. You know how that works in lesbian media? Freelance.
And as a freelance writer, I'm such a sucker. I'm like, tell me more, I want in. No, it's good. Well,
Right.
when you're the head of it, you can call yourself anything. You could be the queen of Velvet
You
Park
could be,
Media.
but you know, in actuality, like if you are the founder and, you know, if I'm looking at the person behind the camera, I mean, that you have the new title, of course, but...
I'm very important, yeah.
But, you know, as the founder, I mean, any lesbian who's going to do work with a lesbian audience in mind, I mean, you got to do it because you really value this community. You love whatever it is you're doing, whether you're a filmmaker or a writer or a lesbian website, you know, producer, because there's no money in it.
There's no money in this? I am leaving.
But I hate to break it to you.
Kristen
I know
didn't
you
tell
just
me
said
that.
it, but you know what? Here's what I learned.
Wait.
What?
Yeah, right. Forget it.
Wait,
It's out.
let me talk about money because here's what I learned.
Please.
There is more value in value than money.
That sounds like a Jedi mind trick kind of thing. That's what you tell your freelancers.
Contemplate that. Contemplate that.
Nice.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, where do I go? That's it. That's the nugget. Let's
Well,
go.
we can talk about the history of lesbian media.
Sure.
I
Well,
don't
we
really
can talk
know.
about the
Yeah.
history. We did a little research.
Oh, okay.
I'm really the best interviewer ever.
I
And
noticed because the microphone's like drooped all the way down.
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
diva, diva.
Where's the little box with your like logo on it?
I know. We're getting there.
Yeah, that's best. We try to make it unobtrusive.
I know. We actually came here to get advice from you. How should we be doing all
No,
this?
I just got a new business plan from you guys.
Oh yeah. Good call.
Sharing, collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration. That's how it's got to work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, a serious point coming out of a goofy point, it does seem like there is a collaborative spirit between sites like Velvet Park and other webs, and I know it's not just a site, a magazine and a whole experience, and other lesbian entities. You know, everyone seems pretty friendly. Like we got to meet you because of
Gina Mamone
at
Riot
Girl
Girl.
Link.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't just want to keep you for herself, which I totally would have understood if she had wanted to do. Instead, she was like, oh, hang out with Tello. So I like that. Everyone seems really nice.
Even though I stood you guys up yesterday, I didn't mean to.
Well, I didn't
Totally
even
shook.
notice. I didn't even
That's
notice.
awesome. Even though you came from Chicago and you figured out how to get from Mamone's house to my house, that's not easy.
It was worth it. Because look where we
'Cause
are
you,
now.
And you saw my neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit, does she live here?
No, it was good.
Piece of crap
We
neighborhood.
got to your door. It was
I'm
great.
impressed. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. No, we know things, but no, everyone seems super friendly and super creative. And now you don't. I do want to talk more about Velvet Park, but I mean, you're also an artist in your own right and a therapist. You're not a therapist?
My sister's a therapist, so she's a real doctor
The
with a PhD.
website, I found some bad information.
What do you mean?
I
Was
found out that you were a
therapist?
psychotherapist.
Huh?
Because
You
I
must-
actually came here for some therapy as well.
Wait a minute. You know, there's a few Grace Moons out there. I've noticed I've been Googling myself for a while.
Sure.
There's another artist, Grace Moon, who's a 12-year-old girl who did a Google, you know, the Google logos sketch thing. So when you Google me, you'll see this little Korean girl with eyeglasses. I am a
That's
Korean
who I
girl.
was looking for.
Right. You know, and we both share that name. So we battle for the top images in Google Images. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's her.
And then this doctor person who.
And a doctor. And I think there's an architect in Taiwan and, you know.
But so we're here at an art gallery and you're actually showing work here.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you find the time to do art and run your Velvet Park Media empire?
I don't.
And all the
have enough
therapy
time.
that you
That's why
do.
I screwed up and didn't meet you guys when I was supposed to because I'm overwhelmed. But that's actually the reason why I was able to find actually someone found me to run the content, somebody, who's very capable. And so I needed to find more time.
Sure.
That's all I can say to that point.
That's okay.
I almost don't have time to do it. Plus, since we know lesbian media doesn't bring in any money whatsoever, and neither does being a struggling artist until you make it.
Right.
Knock on wood.
There's some wood down here.
I teach. I'm a professor of fine art, so I teach at 3 different colleges. And this semester I have 7 courses. I'm teaching every day, and I'm going from 3 different schools.
And you could do just that. I mean, you could have that, and then you could go home and lay down on your couch
That's what
instead.
I try to do. Yeah. There's a lot going on. But let's talk about Velvet Park for a second.
Please.
So Velvet Park is almost 10 years old. It'll be 10 years old February 2012. It was
crazy.
conceived in February 2002. And
it started as a physical magazine.
started as a physical magazine. And funny thing, I was walking in Chinatown today and the idea just struck me. I want to bring back a printed matter, not monthly magazine subscriptions, dead. But I think once in a while people want to have an object. Done correctly, I think people will pick up an object here and there. And it's now become much easier to print. And in the days, we printed 12 issues that ran from 2002 to 2007. And, putting out a magazine was like buying a small car. It was that fucking expensive. So raising that money, trying to get advertisers, was too stressful. I mean, imagine.
Yeah.
$15,000 to put out a magazine? It's awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, and all that paper, lugging it around, all those boxes of paper and all that stuff. So I thought once we stopped printing, that was the end of it. But there is really something about the object that I think we miss. And even though we now have the website, and I find the website to have a whole different... I think the web really is about dynamic conversation. And so even if people come to your site and they sit and watch a movie, or they, it's Friday night, they don't have any plans, they just want to chill out, veg out, and they get their premium subscription on your site and watch 15 little whatever episodes of something.
Yeah.
That's still a conversation. They know they can go somewhere. They can probably leave comments. They can they get to watch some other lesbian stuff. It's this dynamic conversation we're having. Even though the filmmaker made their thing, they don't know who's going to see it. But we're engaging in this constant flow of information. Whereas I feel like the object and what that object is, I'm calling it an object because I feel like the people felt like magazines were objects. And even though we got timely information, which is no longer timely, we still got information, but I think people are going to start to look at those objects differently. And it has to be, and the people who make those objects have to also think about it differently. You can't think about a magazine being a magazine anymore. You have to think about it being something else, but I'm not sure that something else exactly. I'm bad at that.
No.
You're
That's
exactly
okay.
right.
No, you're right.
This is what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
exactly right. What
Okay.
is, because it can't be timely.
Okay.
It has to be...
It has to be
something else.
Okay, here's the other thing. I listen to NPR and I watch PBS, okay? Big consumer of that stuff. And I have been seeing that guy who wrote the Steve Jobs biography interviewed several times till finally I was like, I'm going to download the audiobook and just listen to it because I don't have any time to read, of course.
Right.
I run a website and I don't have any time to read. But anyway, I cannot stop listening to it. I'm almost done. It's taken me 3 days and it's 30 hours of... It's so fascinating. And what I learned about Steve Jobs is that, first of all, the guy, we see him as this technology wizard, but really he had an equal amount of interest in the humanities. And in education in America, we're all business driven, we're numbers driven. Now we're worrying about the sciences, but the humanities funding from the humanities is being sucked up out of colleges, sucked up out of grade school, and people, why do you need to learn how to do art? Why do you need to know literature? Why do you need to know history? Why do you need to know any of this garbage? And I'll tell you why.
Please.
Preach it.
Well, first of all, if you don't understand what I'm going to try and explain, because I don't know if I can explain it correctly, it was personified in Steve Jobs and the products he was able to produce through Apple. And he had enough technical understanding and intellectual rigor in his brain and scientific understanding to comprehend software and hardware, although he wasn't good at either, which is why he never became a real gearhead and made the stuff. He always had other people make that stuff for him, but he understood it enough. And then he had a true love of art and a very specific taste in art, which I don't agree with everything. He's very Bauhaus, very modernist, which I think is a style that is going to get passé at some point. But he has crafted his products around kind of modernist minimalism. And he also understood how people, impute their own value into the thing that they own, like this microphone. We see an object and we project ourselves into this object. And so he understood that concept, whereas a scientist doesn't think that way. A mathematician doesn't think that way. So you need someone who understands the humanities and someone who understands how to emote into it. Artists emote into an object. Actors emote personalities into the stage. Writers emote onto the page. He was able to emote into a technological object.
Yeah. There's a documentary that touches on that. Well, I mean, it's a lot about that. It's called Objectified, and it's really good. And they talked about, how those phones, well, now they're not even just phones, right? I mean, now they're phones, cameras, a portal to everything on the internet, directions. I mean, we were in cabs here in New York, and the cab drivers just assumed we had an iPhone and told us where to go.
She immediately took her phone out.
I know. But in this documentary, one of the things they said specifically about iPhones is that they're so fun to hold. And if you watch people, like everyone keeps them in their hand, and then they're constantly like stroking them because they're smooth and feeling them because they're a certain weight, and like checking in their pocket to make sure they have them, not because it's their lifeline, even though that's a part of it, but also just like it's this great, fun, familiar thing. So it's true. It is a portal, but it's also a thing that they feel close to. I like that you said that. Yeah.
So I think we have to think that way, and it's about building both sides of the personality and the society. Like this society in America is so that we don't value the humanities, that people have to start understanding if you only value business and monetary functions, then we have this world that we have today, which is why 99% of us, our salaries have not gone up. Wall Street people are making enormous amounts of money. The wealth divide is going like this, and we know something's wrong. We know we've lost human value, and human value doesn't necessarily come from religion, although it can, but it comes from art. If you cannot experience an object, a visual thing, a song emotionally, there is depravity then in humanity. It's through these things that we feel emotions and that we can empathize with each other and we can express to each other, not just in words, but in like energy, right? Like the dog whisperer communicates with like just an energy.
I cannot believe we're talking about the dog whisperer, but
I love
it. All comes back to Cesar Millan.
It's all the same thing. It's that he is able to express his humanity in these animals, and then he's able to translate what that means to us. So that's why we like him, right? Yeah. So it's like Steve Jobs translated that into technology. So the humanities add the value in which we translate that into whatever it is that we're going to do, whatever it is our medium's going to be. We have to take the values that the humanities develops in us and transfer it into that thing.
Do you feel like that is part of what Velvet Park is for you?
Yeah. I mean, well, I feel like media functions in a different way. Online media functions in a different way because it's an open-ended conversation where, discussion is going on, in this huge transfer of energy. And I think that, and then our site, content-wise specifically, we tend to want to focus on the arts and culture of lesbian. We do a little bit of pop culture, not a lot of it. So there is a certain way that we're going. And Patricia, who curated this show here, is one of the writers on Velvet Park, and she's an artist herself. And so we have a lot of arts people. Yeah. In fact, our new editorial director, Marcy, she just got a PhD in literature. And so it's very humanities types people.
Yeah.
People should just go. Because I think we need a way to connect with each other, and we did have that I think I look at lesbian media in terms of pre-L word, L word, and post-L word, and I don't count the real L word
Oh my
as
gosh,
the L
can you
word.
say that again?
Pre-L word.
Here, wait, you
L
look
word.
at lesbian culture.
I look at lesbian, at least the last 15 years of lesbian culture as pre-L word, post-L word.
That's genius.
And I don't count the real L word as a part of the L word. It's post-L word.
Okay.
And I'm really sorry to say, but it's a derivative. Everything that made the L word great, somehow the producers were not able to translate that into the real L word. The people who are watching the real L word are all, like 31 and under. You have to still kind of want to just, take E and, zone out at a club to like enjoy the real L word. Because what made the real L word great were, components like, I can't, what made it great is not what, the real L word is parodying what made the real L word great.
Yes.
I mean, the
actual-
real L word, not the real L word.
the original L word.
The
Yeah.
original L word. And the original L word translated our community, and even though the actors, were a little bit a glorification of, people that we know, or an aspirational version of the people that we know, or maybe they're actually, related, people, and maybe they were, some of them were people that we did know. What happened is that the L word brought the entire lesbian audience together. And it brought them together at the viewing parties. It brought them together with people showing it in their house, and friends would get together. And we rallied around this show, even the people who hated it or wanted to, criticize it, in a way that it doesn't happen with the real L word at all. And once the show ended, we kind of lost that kind of one glue, that element, that cultural element that brought us together. The L word provided a cultural element that we all kind of tapped into, and then it stopped. So now we're all kind of floating around in our different pockets. And there's
Yeah.
other different websites that have their own audience, like Autostraddle and After All, and you guys have another community. And some of these people cross over and some of them don't. So I think, the ultimate thing I think that we would like to do is to be able to reconnect our community again better, so that even if a cultural phenomenon happens, like another L word type of show, or a musical artist like, I don't know, a Lady Gaga that's maybe more queer and more really tuned into our issues, then we can embrace that person, but we won't lose this thing that connects the community.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Do you
Yeah,
think that
I
makes
do.
sense?
It totally makes sense.
And I really, and I have to say that the producers failed to realize what it was that brought us together under the original show that is not bringing us together cross-generationally in the real L word.
Yeah,
It's not about sexuality, it's not about sex, it's not about location. The original show somehow transcended that. Those were just the trappings. There was something that we connected to. So finding that thing that connects us, that humanity, the essence of our humanity, that's what we need to connect to. That's my advice for the producers of the L word. I'm not naming names, but that's a direct message.
I don't mind naming names, but I'll do it in my next interview.
You can name names in your own, because I'm very grateful to the producers of the L word, because I got a job and I'd had a great run working on their website and stuff, and I have nothing bad to say about that time period. I'm only talking specifically about this real L word and finding the essence of our humanity. That is it. Find it, and you're going to get the audience back. But until that's found, it's just a very cheap representation of the most salacious aspects of us. And yeah, we all have that kind of thing, but we also have more depth, and the depth is not being represented.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's like we're not just coming out stories and, artificial insemination and commitment ceremonies. The L word got past all that, and it seems like this is just focusing on the dating
trappings,
scene and we want more.
This is kind of superficial trappings of our community.
We got more, and we want to keep getting more.
That's what happens when you're too caught up in Tinseltown. Everything's glittery, and you don't look at what's happening underneath. That's all I have to say on that subject. Let's go look at my artwork. I'm a painter.
Okay.
That is my background. I started painting when I was 17, although I drew since I was a kid. And I got my BFA at the University of Hawaii, where I grew up, and then my MFA at Pratt. And I really thought that that would be the only thing I did, just be a painter, be a painter. And then lesbian media happened, and then I took a little detour. But in the meantime, I still see myself as a painter. And even when I approached Velvet Park as an operation, I thought of it more in terms of an art product, like curating, like this curating. Hey, Patricia and her with a broom.
Yes, we're getting Patricia.
So, which is
Glamour, the glamour
which is
of the
why
art world.
I gotta tell you why I like working with artists, because they know how to produce things. They know how to get shit done. Look at this. She's the curator, she's an artist, and she's sweeping the floor. That's how you get shit done.
True. So what can I do to help you here?
Nothing. I'm just
Okay.
gonna roll it out.
All right.
So I started painting with Chinese ink a little while ago, and usually I paint Western style in oil, and then I did this. This is actually Patricia's backyard in Portugal, where she's originally from. She sent me a picture on a crappy little BlackBerry, pixelated, awful little tiny picture, and she wanted to include me in this show about Portugal, so I painted her backyard. And then I went to Chinatown to get it framed, and I was supposed to pick it up yesterday early, and then what happened was they didn't have it finished, which is why I didn't meet you there.
Oh, that was okay.
So that's one, and then this is a painting of Macau, which was a Portuguese colony, on the eastern coast of China. And it was a colony for 600 years maybe. And anyway, so I mounted it traditionally on Chinese silk. It was the first time I've done it, and I love it. I think it's great. It's really excited about it. And that's about all I have to say on this subject. Now I have to put it on the wall, otherwise I'm going to be kicked out of this show.
Oh, Grace, thank you so much for talking with us. This is just beautiful, and good luck with your show.
And good luck with your site.
Thank you.
Do a shout out real quick to
Thank you to Gina Mamone and Riot Girl Inc.
Gina Mamone's on my board of directors, so.
So
That's
you don't like her at all.
No, that's how much I value Gina Mamone. I'm entrusting her with the well-being of Velvet Park into the future.
Oh, good. Wave at Gina Mamone. Thank you.